Coming up on the Desert Vision, the Army's newest attack helicopter arrives in Afghanistan, and Camp Arifjan unveils a new resource in the fight against sexual harassment and assault. Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Desert Vision. I'm Army Sergeant Heath Graham. The newest model of Apache aircraft made its debut in one region of Afghanistan. Army Sergeant Rodney Roldan shows us what it takes to prepare this helicopter for flight.
The newest member of the Army's helicopter fleet has arrived at Kandahar Airfield. The Apache Guardian made its way to the 16th Combat Aviation Brigade, where the crew worked hours reassembling various flight, electronic, and weapons systems. A majority of the crew installed a new rotor system and new rotor blades. The new composite rotor blades will increase Guardian's cruise speed and payload capacity. The new design features are also a plus for crew members like Specialist Tracy Burton when it comes to keeping the systems up and operational.
Everything's pretty much the same tactically, but they made a lot of things easier for the maintainer. They removed a lot of wires, added some additional ports for us to hook up to, and overall everything is a lot easier to get to.
Compared to the previous model, the Guardian has an upgraded transmission to accommodate more power as well as the capability to control unmanned aerial vehicles, making it a valued asset in combat operations.
The end result is we have the ability to carry more ammo, more fuel in these high-density altitude environment like Afghanistan. And what that means to the end user is that we can bring more to the fight and stay there longer than a Delta model.
Guardian will fly its first real-world mission in the near future. Army Sergeant Rodney Roldan, Kandahar Airfield, Afghanistan.
Army engineer divers have been conducting underwater missions for over 100 years. Training to be underwater for extended periods of time is key, but adding a real mission to that training gave divers in Kuwait an invaluable experience. Soldiers with the 511th Engineer Dive Detachment conducted a training exercise known as Deep Blue at the Kuwait Naval Base. The exercise focuses on every responsibility from the lead divers to the supervisor checkoffs.
Okay, red, okay, green.
A real-world mission was incorporated into the training as the divers conducted reconnaissance on a concrete block at the bottom of the port that the Army is working with their Kuwaiti counterparts to remove.
We try to work closely with the Kuwaitis because they do have resources that support us on a regular basis. So generally when something like this comes down, if it's within our capabilities and we have the personnel on hand, we try to help them out as best we can to just maintain that positive working relationship.
The divers conducted recon on the concrete obstruction to get accurate measurements and determine the best way to have it removed. Combined Armed soldiers in Kuwait conducted training of their own with an evacuation exercise. Army Sergeant Matt Waymeyer has the story.
Alpha Company 28 Infantry rehearsed non-combatant evacuation operations, or NEO, with Kuwaiti land forces at FOB Gerber. The exercise was the final NEO partnership during 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team 4th Infantry Division's rotation.
And we are working together in case something were to happen here in Kuwait, that the Kuwaiti military, along with the partnered units from the American military, can work together to evacuate and control situations together.
NEOs primarily evacuate U.S. government personnel and dependents.
We will be able to go in there and safely evacuate all the Americans, work with consulate staff and ambassadors in that area to make sure that all the Americans are out and safe.
One of the participants expanded on how the exercise helps non-military Americans.
We're here to protect them and to make sure that they can come home safe to their families and do their job just as much as we do ours.
The local U.S. ambassador determines if a NEO is necessary. Army Sergeant Matt Waymeyer, 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team 4th Infantry Division, FOB Gerber, Kuwait.
2nd Armored Brigade soldiers at Camp Buring have the opportunity to become certified in combatives while deployed. Sergeant Matt Waymeyer gives us a feature look inside the class and the learning process that takes place.
what I tell the students when they first come in here, and I believe this, and I tell them that by the time they graduate out of this class, they'll be able to defend themselves against 90% of the people they ever come across in their life. And, you know, I get things like, hey sir, when I first came here, I didn't know anything, but now if I fought myself 2 weeks ago, I would definitely win now.
Gets you a little tired, a little tight in different places that you're not used to using, so it's difficult at times, but everything wears away, everything gets better. The students in the class, everybody in the class, we all get along well. Everybody seems to let each other learn how to do the moves. We don't try and just submit someone, even though we may be able to. We still use it as a teaching point just because we're all learning right now. So like I said, it's level 1, so a lot of us don't really have much experience with it.
There's some pride in it. There's pride in being able to teach somebody something that they enjoy and that they can use in the future.
Welcome back. Becoming a non-commissioned officer is one of the most important milestones in an enlisted service member's career. One unit at Camp Arifjan welcomed soldiers to the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers with a ceremony. Sergeant Matt Waymeyer has the story.
Task Force Thunder welcomed new non-commissioned officers, or NCOs, into enlisted leadership ranks during an induction ceremony at Camp Arifjan. The ceremony was a way for the recently promoted NCOs to feel like a part of something bigger.
Being inducted into the Corps of the Non-Commissioned Officer was a great experience because it's kind of a rite of passage to where I can better myself and realize that I am an NCO.
The ceremony was also a way to mark the transition from soldier to NCO.
It inspires me to become that type of leader that somebody can look up to, the type of leader that can really make a difference on somebody's lives, as mine have to me.
Task Force Thunder inducted 34 soldiers into the NCO ranks during the ceremony. Another event at Camp Arifjan saw the introduction of a new resource in the fight against sexual harassment and sexual assault. A ribbon-cutting ceremony marked the opening of the new 24-hour Sexual Harassment, Assault Response and Prevention Center. The center, being the first of its kind in a deployed environment, provides an important central location for service members and is another step in the direction towards zero future victims within our military ranks.
This ensures a physical location here in theaters manned 24 hours, 7 days a week to provide support, services, and care to the victims of sexual harassment and sexual assault.
The center is located on Camp Arifjan in Building Tango 181, and the number to the 24-hour hotline is 430-7477. Army Reserve soldiers often apply their civilian skills to accomplish their military mission. Adapting to mission requirements could even mean wearing civilian attire. Army Sergeant John Carkeet tells us how the 840th Transportation Battalion conducts one of these unique operations as it traverses the theater through air, land, and sea.
A train conductor, a commercial truck driver, an information technology specialist. These and other members of the United States Army Reserve converged in the Middle East and used their civilian skills to help coordinate the military's complex mission of moving thousands of vehicles, military hardware, and other supplies throughout Central Command's area of operations.
we have enough diversity within our group as far as backgrounds that we just melt real good. The command has made it very easy for us to try things that we haven't done before, and without having to worry about getting ourselves in trouble. You know, they know we're going to make mistakes, but that's how we're going to learn.
Well, the Army Reserve actually plays a very important role. Both the 840th Transportation Battalion and the 595th Transportation Brigade are active duty elements, but they are augmented by about 80% reservists, which is a very unique situation for the Army today.
What our team does here, we do both import and export of any cargo coming into this port that is going to or from theater. That is our actual mission.
Our mission here is a little bit different than in some of the other locations because sometimes we get to deal with sensitive cargo, which means we really have to have hands-on visibility for this stuff at all times.
At this particular port, we are in charge of all the movement of military cargo that's directed to our location. Our main focus is to making sure all this cargo has its proper documentation, since we are the last persons to see this cargo. So it'll be an easy transition for this cargo to move via air to its final destination or via vessel back to the States.
So when it arrives here on C-17s, we'll inventory it, mark the cargo, and start keeping an eye on it until it's loaded onto the convoys, sent down to the port, and sent out to sea.
We move all kinds of vehicles. We got MRAPs, MATVs, wreckers, PLSs. We also have trailers like flatbeds and lowboys, as well as containers, tricons, quadcons, bicons, 20-footers and 40-footers.
Since our unit took over, we roughly have moved 4,500 pieces of military cargo, as well as the loading and unloading of 60 different vessels.
It used to take anywhere between 26 to 56 days to get permission to move cargo. Now we can do it as either soon as it lands off the C-17 or as soon as we bring it off the vessels.
Mainly on this particular vessel, on the import portion of it, we're importing mainly containers. We do have some wheeled vehicles that are coming off.
Being good stewards of the government's money has been very important to us. Underneath our new contract, we have found ways to reduce our costs by about 2/3 here, while at the same time increasing our input by about 50%, from 3,000 pieces to over 5,000 pieces for our group. The disadvantage is that when we do have long vessel ops loading as many as 600 or 700 pieces, we do perform 24/7 operations here, which puts a lot of wear and tear on the soldiers. But as dedicated as they are for the few days that the operations go on, they hang tough.
The amount of people and organizations that we deal with on a daily basis is immense. But the key to success is having a good relationship with these people and organizations, which becomes in a synchronized movement of information that affects the cargo, so this cargo can move freely to its final destination.
From the 143rd Sustainment Command Expeditionary, I'm Army Sergeant John Carkeet, Southwest Asia.
That wraps up this edition of the Desert Vision. For these stories and more, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/US Army Central. Thanks for watching.